Absolutely, yes.
If you would elaborate.
Sure. I find it absolutely appalling that we have people that think certain children cannot learn and cannot succeed because they are quote-unquote segregated. That to me is racist and disgusting. Why do we have to think that because a child is black and it's in school with 87% of black kids that school is failing? That's disgusting as far as I'm concerned. And to people in that community, I think it's the worst kind of pandering to your own people that you say that we can't learn because we're all black. What does that do to a small black child? What does that do to that poor child? Said, oh, my people are telling me I can't learn because I'm around people that are black. I know if it was reversed and I had white people telling me when I was 5 years old that I couldn't learn around white people, what would that do to me internally? What would that do to my brain when I was 5 years old and said, well, my people say I can't learn around people of my own race, so that means I'm automatically going to fail. When you think about it, it's just not right. And I think we need to get away from that whole even kind of talk that people can't learn because of their race and because they're around people of their own race. No, we need to get away from that line of thinking immediately. That's basically it. We just need to get away from that line of thinking.
Why do you think some schools are struggling academically? Students in some schools are struggling.
Because of over 100 years of government interference in social programs. The schools can't possibly fix what's broken socially. No matter what we try to do through any kind of equitable programs, the schools aren't going to fix it. It has to be fixed in the communities. It has to be fixed by entrepreneurs going into the lower achieving communities and showing people that businesses can thrive there, and show people that doing things the right way will rise them up, rather than politicians pandering to the lowest denominator and thinking that taking money from one is going to improve them. All that does is create what we've seen in this community for so long, middle class flight, and just leaving the schools in the shape that they're in now. It's not up to the school to fix that. It's up to the community to fix that. And it's incumbent on the community to fix that. I don't know what the schools can do other than try programs that haven't worked for 50 years to try to fix things. I really, as I said, I don't think it's up to the school to fix it. It's a community problem. Put money into the community through entrepreneurship, and this is where I go into some politics, lower taxes, give people an incentive to start businesses in the lower income communities, and see where it goes from there. But sorry, you just can't take from one to give to another in the schools. That's a bad model, and it's led to a lot of the problems that we see today.
Based on what you've seen or experienced, would you say that CMS has succeeded in providing equal amounts of resources in schools across the district, teaching staffs that are relatively equal in experience? Is that what you understand to be the case?
I understand the case that they're trying, but I don't think they've done a good enough job with necessarily giving equalization of opportunity. Now, I'm totally opposed to trying for an equalization of outcome. That's not just something I'm completely opposed to, but I'm all for equalization of opportunity. And I think CMS is trying generally to do the best job they possibly can, but I think there's more they can do. I just don't think that CMS is, unfortunately, a lot of people on that board are controlled by the Chamber of Commerce rather than controlled by the community. And I think the Chamber of Commerce wants through all this metric stuff that they do with all this testing, I think they want to show that CMS is this school system which is providing something for everybody. But what they're forgetting about is some of the kids on the west side of town, and leaving some of the kids in Matthews alone because they're performing well anyway, and who cares, they're always going to pass state tests, and who cares because the kids on the west side are always going to fail. So they just try to show this metric and use our kids as social experiments instead of actually trying to make education better for all in this community.
My understanding is that if you live in Mecklenburg County,
Yes.
your children will be assigned to a school
Yes.
by the school system,
Yes.
unless you opt out to a magnet school.
Correct.
And if I heard your answer earlier, you can imagine a case in which the school to which your children are assigned would be one of those where you say CMS has failed
Yes.
to provide relatively equal access to good teachers, just materials. And all I would ask is, how would you feel about that?
Well, that's part of the reason I'm running.
Please elaborate.
My daughter would be assigned to Raymer Road Elementary, which when my wife and I moved back to this community in 2006, Raymer Road Elementary was a decent elementary school. I've looked now, 61% passing, 77% free and reduced lunch. When I look at my neighborhood doesn't reflect that. They've drawn lines to try to, even though we've ended busing and ended quote-unquote equalization through income and race and all this other kind of statistics that we don't really need, they've still tried to make some of these schools quote-unquote equal, not based upon performance, but based upon demographics. And as somebody who's in that position right now with my daughter and other people in my neighborhood, I'm not at all happy about that. They've downgraded my property value. They've downgraded my child's potential future. So I'm looking at possibly having to pay 14 grand in tuition to send her to a private school, unless people like me get on the board and say, hey, look, we need to do something about this problem now, or we're going to lose neighborhoods like Stonehaven and Lansdowne and Sardis Forest and all these other Monroe Road corridor communities to private schools or to Union County, Iredell County, or wherever, unless we do something to fix what's broken in these schools.